Hello everybody, Hyper Mario Sunshine here. And you're not seeing double because we are just as Volo, or we're in our Sinnoh outfit rather. And we're here to talk about, well, the trio of Volo, Cogita, and Cynthia. Now, I gotta say, this is more of a shilling and also just like some thoughts about the trio as a whole. And, yeah, Cogita doesn't really have much to say to us, even if we do appear to her in the Sinnoh outfit. But yeah, we're going to go over all three of them. And first I want to go over is Volo. The man behind everything. Who started this whole rift in the sky that scared everyone in Hisui and caused all these problems. Had us come through time by Arceus to stop him and to stop the rift in general. He was the one behind it all, and safe to say he is definitely one of the most dangerous Pokemon villains to ever be in a Pokemon game. And honestly, I think he's top two, like easily top two Pokemon villains in my opinion. I love his design. His Ginkgo Guild design makes you feel safe around him. It makes him feel like, you know, hey, this guy is going to be around our side. He'll be kind of like Cynthia in a way, how she was in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And he's also a merchant, so he was pretty useful in that manner, especially how he was able to help us out throughout the late game, where we were exiled and couldn't get access to many shops. And he also just was very, like, interesting to interact with whenever he stopped by and gave us advice, or even when he was exploring the ruins. And it's that trait that actually inspires Cynthia later on. Yeah, so the relationship between Volo and Cynthia, it's very clear that he is the ancestor of her. And, yeah, they share a lot of qualities, being called the researcher of myths. And obviously their looks as well, both having a flax hair color and having hair covering one eye. And Volo, well, obviously their genders are the only thing that separates them, and their height as well. Cynthia is pretty tall for a woman, but Volo is pretty tall. Like, he is probably the tallest character in the game, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Volo, I know some people may say that Volo is kind of like an obvious twist villain, and Pokemon has tried doing twist villains back to back to back to back. Yeah, I'm counting Gen 9 as well into this, but yeah, it all started with, I guess technically started with Lysander, so back to back to back to back to back? Question mark? Whatever. It started with Lysander, and then we got to Lucamine, who was a really good one in my opinion, in terms of like how her story is, and then we got to Rose, and then to Volo, who I think, yes, it may seem obvious, but I feel like his execution and his plan, and like all the subtle hints that come out of it, his foreshadowing, him teaching you the backstrike technique. He was always going to backstab you, which is a really interesting thing that he teaches you. This is the first thing he teaches you, by the way. It's like, yeah, it's obvious, but I'm going to like throw all these things, and like even reading this in the beginning, I did not notice this until afterwards. I was like, oh my god, he was always going to backstab, even though it was obvious. Like, he's showing it. Like, he's not like pretending to be it. Like, he's like, even though he's wearing this mask, but this mask is still like his true face in a way. It's just weird. He's a very complex and mysterious character, and yeah, that's what I really like about him and this entire trilogy, like, I guess, trilogy of characters. Volo also, throughout the journey, was constantly following us, constantly looking at everything we were doing and studying us. And, yeah, he really did his research. He is one of the strongest trainers we face, and why he's the only Pokemon trainer to be called a wielder of Pokemon. Nobody else we faced gave us a challenge except for him. And, yeah, Volo is also incredibly based off of Cynthia's team, as we can see, but it's actually the other way around. Well, because technically he came first. The only difference is that he does not have a Milotic, he has an Hisui and Arcanine. In the battle, interestingly enough, he actually has the opposite of Cynthia's, well, I guess, theme. Instead of whenever you encounter Cynthia before you fight her, he actually has her theme of her encounter. and her battle theme is his encounter theme, which is pretty interesting. How they flipped it around, and I honestly love both of the remixes. How sinister and intense his reveal is, to how divine sounding and heavenly, and kind of like off-putting as well his battle theme is. Not only that, but his dialogue as well, how he mentions how he will meet Arceus after we defeat him, even if it takes him decades or even centuries, like 100 years. And, well, yeah, it kind of does seem like he never does, but technically he does. He said in any way possible. And while he can't really reset the world like he wanted to and create in his own image, which does inspire Cyrus, there is one thing he actually does succeed in, and that is having Cynthia meet Arceus in the Sinjoh ruins. It's just so incredibly smart that he does technically succeed in his goal. And yeah, he's one of the only few Pokemon villains to really do it, unless you include like Rainbow Rocket variants where everybody technically succeeds. But if you're going to by the fact, like, if the protagonist wins every single one, Volo is the only one who really won at the end. He's the only one who got to meet Arceus in a way where his bloodline of Cynthia was able to meet Arceus in the Sinjoh ruins. And I guess one more thing to leave on Volo is that he was technically also hinted at in Pokemon Masters EX of all things. If Cynthia's Signa suit with Giratina, she is wielding Giratina, and her battle theme is actually her encounter theme. And yeah, it is a pretty awesome sounding encounter theme. I will link it down below. It is incredible. And like, you may pass this off as like, her encounter theme makes a really good boss fight theme as well. Like, and she's using Giratina as well. She's like, you know, using one of the mythical Pokemon and whatnot. And she's like incredibly powerful. Like, you already thought she was one of the most toughest trainers to face. Just giving her Giratina sounds even more punishing and more of a tough time. And yeah, this was foreshadowing Volo wielding Giratina and his boss fight having that music. Yeah, who would have thought that the mobile gacha game would have hinted out this whole time? Like, it was literally out in the blue. Like, this was like hidden in plain sight. Like, it's right in front of you, but you're not even noticing it. So anyways, we're going to move on to Cogita. Now, there is a lot of mysteries behind Cogita, and honestly, she is the most mysterious one out of them all. She's the most vague, because, like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of theories about this woman, and one of the main ones being that she is actually Cynthia from the future. She does say that she descends from the Sinnoh blood, but we never see Cynthia herself say this in the games, unless I could be wrong, but yeah, we never really hear Cynthia say anything like this. And she does wear a pendant similar to Cynthia, as you can see on her chest. She also has a very similar look to Cynthia as well, and she is also a woman much like Cynthia, but yeah, she also got the same colors as her as well, with a very black-inspired outfit. But yeah, it's very mysterious on who she is. Again, there are people that theorizing that Cynthia is Cogita, and they're trying to use the old verses to prove that, because there are some stuff in the old verses that suggests someone becoming immortal, and people are saying that Cynthia in the future suffered a similar fate to us and Ingo, who forget what they were and gave themselves a different name. But again, we have yet to see this being proved, or if we will get further, I guess, tellings of what Cogita really does, and who she is, for that matter. And I hope Pokemon Legends ZA somehow goes into her a little bit more. I would like to see her in it, and maybe, like, it would answer some of the more vague questions I have about her. Like, who is she really? Like, is she actually an ancestor? Is she related to Volo? Is she related to Cynthia? I mean, she's obviously related to both, but how? Is she actually immortal? Is she actually one of the last few Sinnoh people remaining, and she's just immortal, and she happens to be Volo's ancestor and Cynthia's ancestor, like, really far ancestor, and she's just been living for so long. And just a whole lot of questions I have about her. And also, she is the one that introduces us to Eramis. I can't believe I forgot the name, but yeah, she's the one that introduces to them, and I guess that's another hint why people think she is Cynthia, is because Cynthia also appears in the Unova region, and the incarnate Pokemon appear in the Unova region prominently. So people are suggesting that Enamorus, being one of the genies and one of the incarnate Pokemon, suggests that Cynthia, since she goes to the Unova region, may suggest that Cogita found Enamorus, and yeah. It's just a really interesting idea, but again, nothing solid, nothing concrete to really point to this. And lastly, the third one, who isn't really here in this game, but still her impact on the series as a whole, is Cynthia. And Cynthia, obviously being mysterious and, well, the first of the three that we see technically, she is honestly one of my favorite trainers ever. One of my favorite fights ever, and she's got such an incredible theme. But yeah, her onlook onto researching and delving into the myths of Sinnoh is honestly just something that we never really seen out of any other, well, champion before. Like, just this whole fixation on it. And obviously we had Lance and Steven beforehand, but they weren't really as impactful, in my opinion, as Cynthia. She's just incredibly memorable, and she has her amazing moments in Platinum and in Diamond and Pearl, their endgames. More so Platinum, because she actually does something and helps the protagonist in the distortion world. And obviously her love of the piano, I guess that's where her encounter theme comes from. As you can see in the villa that you get in Platinum, in the post-game. And Cynthia obviously appearing in the Unova region as a super boss fight. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, just walking into Undella Town and then, oh my god, it's Cynthia's here, and you have to fight her. But yeah, Cynthia is an interesting character. I do love whenever they delve into her. And giving her two ancestors really shows that Pokemon really absolutely loves her and sees her as one of the, I guess, like, most prominent trainers in Pokemon's history. And giving her two ancestors, or if you believe in the fact that if Cogita is Cynthia, then yeah, she's got a very big impact on the series, and it can't be understated. She is absolutely popular. She is again, has a huge impact on the franchise and the lore. And yeah, she is connected to both Cogita and Volo, and she is the one that does eventually meet Arceus herself. I guess one final thing about the three that they all share is that their names all derive from Latin. Now, if you guys don't know, and also kind of they also revolve around the three lake Pokemon of Mesprit, Uxie, and Azelf. So, yeah, their names derive all from Latin, and each of them has a meaning. So, we'll go over Cogito first, or Cogito, Latin for I know. And Uxie is the being of knowledge. So, knowing and having knowledge, Cogita has been basically giving us all the information we know because of her knowledge, and how smart she is, how intelligent she is about all the myths in Hisui, from the plates to the incarnate Pokemon to the various other myths like Arceus, Dialga and Palkia, and Giratina. Well, I guess not Giratina, but more so the other myths that we already explained, and all the legendaries that she told us to seek after to get all the plates. Next up is Volo. Volo stands for I want, or I wish. And then that leads him to being compared to Azelf, the being of willpower, and his will to basically rule the world. He's got the willpower to do it, and no matter what gets in his way, he's willing to get rid of it at any means cost. His willpower is undeniable, especially since he said that he would not stop at any chance, no matter how long it would take, to violently meet Arceus and basically rule the world in a way, see the universe fit in his own image. And he had the willpower to do it. And it's really fitting because, it's whatever he wanted. It's whatever he wished and desired. And again, that name is very fitting, much like Cogita. And lastly, Cynthia, which might be derived from Cynthia or Cynthia, which is Latin for I feel. And Cynthia is basically being compared to the being of emotion, Mesprit. And Cynthia definitely does have an impact emotionally throughout Platinum, especially since she does try to help Cyrus in seeing better in Pokemon and the world as a whole. She truly does care about the trainer as well, whether it's Dawn or Lucas, and she does care for She does try to care for Cyrus and tries to make him turn a leaf and give up on a world of domination and come back to live a regular life. And Cynthia she also has a lot of friends as well, as we could see in the Unova region. She is practically got a lot of people in her life, and she is very popular. It doesn't really lead to emotion, but I guess it's like the feeling of being around people, and just like, having all these relationships that she has, friendships, and even to the people that were evil, she still wanted to give them a chance. So, yeah, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I guess that's just my interpretation of why Cynthia is I feel. Or Cynthia. Like, that, since it derives from the Latin word. So, yeah, these three are incredibly interesting. And, honestly, I think they're easily my favorite three characters in Pokemon, just based on how interesting their lore is. And their designs as well. It's just simplistic. I think I'm just into characters that have hair covering their one eye, or their eye being covered by something. Like, I guess non-Pokemon examples, Rosalina and Dimitri, but yeah. I just love these three. And yeah, their impact on the franchise, and even myself as being a fan, has been undeniable. And I just really want to chill about them and talk about them, theorize stuff. Oh yeah, and also Volo has a pendant similar to both Cogita and Cynthia as well when he's in his Sinnoh outfit. So yeah, that is it. That's all I wanted to share. If you guys have any questions or even your own thoughts on the three, or any of the individual three, let me know down below. Because, again, I think they're some of the most interesting characters we've ever seen in Pokemon. I think they're easily some of my favorite characters in all of Pokemon. They're definitely when Pokemon started stepping up their story as well. Like, these were some of the characters that hooked me in. Well, I guess Cynthia more so, but Cogita and Volo are definitely the characters that made me stick even further to the franchise, especially since people were really mixed on Sword and Shield. But this game really was something special, and these two definitely helped it out for me in some way. And I hope they did for you too. Well, anyways, thank you all so much for watching this special little dive into the three interesting characters here of Volo, Cogita, and Cynthia. So, love my videos, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. And we shall see you all for further bonus videos on Pokemon Legends Arceus, which will probably not be uploaded for quite some time. But I still thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys there for it.